Hi, Bother Brigade. Here's what's bothering me today. I've been wanting to talk about this for a while, so I'm hoping this comes across clear enough to people and it kind of makes sense. And it's probably going to be a two-parter. But with that being said, this first part, I want to talk a little bit about officially their title is something like the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville. Most people just call it Leeds Grenville, and it's a fairly large county about south of Ottawa and east of Smiths Falls in eastern Ontario. Why I want to talk about this county is for a couple reasons, which will lead into the second video. But the main reason is that within the province of Ontario, it has the highest vaccination rate to an astonishing degree. 91% of its population reports being fully vaxxed, with 97% of its population having one dose. And, most people probably would have thought, oh, what would be the highest place with vaccination in Ontario? Probably one of the cities, right? So, Toronto, right? It's really big, so everyone's got to get the vaccines. Or Ottawa, it's the capital of Canada, big government town, so lots of people getting access to the vaccines, right? Nope. Happens to be this county just hanging out, doing their thing in eastern Ontario. And that's what I'd like to talk about a little bit today, because this county has a very interesting story to it and just stuff you can see. Now, as per usual, it's a rural county, so it's overwhelmingly white and tends to vote conservative like 75% of the time. That being said, it's interesting to note how currently, at the other ends of the county, you have places that are really struggling. Cornwall, just up the 401 there to the east, is really struggling with COVID-19. And also recently, and just to the west, we have Kingston, which at first had a really great handle on the pandemic. And if you've been paying attention to the news recently, hasn't been a good scene down there. So what makes Leeds and Grenville so important? Well, there's an article that I will link down below that basically goes into, part of their success, which was having paramedic units actually get vaccines out to people in these hard to reach areas. But you'll notice also in that article, someone says, well, like something along the lines of, we take care of our own here. We care about each other. We care about our communities. And, it's true. And the thing about Leeds and Grenville is, even though it is a very rural and overwhelmingly white area, there's still really interesting things that you can see and stuff that you're not thinking you would expect to see in the country. For instance, going by a dairy farm that proudly flies the pride flag. One of the larger of the towns in this county, called Kemptville, they were in the news a while back for a cafe that was in violation of, restrictions on numbers and also masking. They said, no, you know what? Everyone's welcome here and you don't need a mask. And it was a really big issue for a while. And thinking, oh yeah, well, typical, hick-ass town in the middle of nowhere. Kemptville also has an annual pride parade, as does Brockville, the actual county seat. This is not a county that, you might think of, you said earlier, it's like overwhelmingly white and it votes conservative a lot of the time. There's also some other things that you will see here. Like I said, the pride parades, you see a little bit of diversity here and there that are still, members of the community. You see pride flags in some areas. You will also see, very interestingly enough, people with, Canadian versions of the Gadsden flag living right next door to people with Black Lives Matter lawn signs. You will also see a lot of signs on the lawns for a variety of things. One of them is that's very popular these days. It's all about this sign in orange that says, "Every child matters." And that is in relation to the horrifying news that has, of course, disappeared from the news now about the thousands upon thousands of unmarked graves of Indigenous children at residential schools, reminding us that we committed genocide against our Indigenous population. And yet you'll find plenty of those signs in Leeds and Grenville, like all around. In equal measure, you will also see no more lockdown signs. The point is that this is a very interesting county, and it seems to have done what even larger cities in Ontario have been able to do, which is achieve or be very close to achieving herd immunity within their community. And so that's what I want to hit on in what's going to be the next video, because I just want to tell people a little bit about the backstory of this county and some of the interesting and like bizarre and surreal things you will see, and also the contrasts. That's what you will find a lot of in the country, is a lot of contrasts. One neighbor says Black Lives Matter, and next neighbor will literally have one of those, signs that says we don't call the cops around here, and they'll wave like, the Dixie flag and stuff. Like, you will see this stuff all over the county. You will see what counts as progressive hippie stuff, and you will see just like absolute ridiculous conservative stuff. But it's all part of the community, and yet somehow, again, even though it's overwhelmingly white and overwhelmingly seems to vote conservative, they still believe in vaccination and taking care of their communities, which is why we're going to explore that in the next video. But I guess the point of this one is that it really bothers me and frustrates me when I see a lot of people in cities and they just openly discount or discredit the countryside as, oh yeah, full of a bunch of incestuous banjo twanging people. It is so much more than that. And I wish more people would understand that and not abandon the country, which is why we're talking about Leeds and Grenville here today and also tomorrow. But that core concept of people just writing off the country when there's far more to it than that is definitely what's bothering me today.